Okay, it says the meeting is live. Okay. Okay, yes, I see we are live. Thank you everybody for waiting patiently with me. I appreciate it. Here we are. Okay. So, hello everybody. I'm Sudha Jamte and this is Sudha Live. And this is my happy hour with you, end of my week here in Silicon Valley on Friday. Thank you everybody who is joining me and who is going to be asking questions and engaging with me and making this truly live. And for those of you who are finishing up your week with me here in US, and those of you who are waking up and giving me a slice of your time on a weekend morning, I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. So for those of you who are new, what I do here is about AI opportunities. So I'm a technology futurist, and I'm always looking for the latest trends in AI. And having come from a business operational background, I want to see, okay, what is real? What is hype? How is this ecosystem evolving? And how can we really make something out of it? Can we go build a startup out of it? Are there gaps for innovation? Are there opportunities by which you can create business impact and things like that? So that's where my focus is. And I love data. And so I will bring everything back to data. So the way I do this is I try to keep this for about 45 minutes, and hopefully, you will engage. And this is streaming live on LinkedIn and on YouTube, but LinkedIn is one I'm watching. Let me go see you there, say hello. And I would like to make sure that I answer your questions. Okay, I see the LinkedIn here. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, please say hello. I see just the number of people. It shows me a count, but I would like to see who you are. And as we get started, I'll appreciate if you can engage in the conversation, ask questions, comments. If you have experience in the topic that I'm talking about, I would love to, keep this as a conversation flowing. And I always like to start with what inspires me through the week. And I do a bunch of congratulations and what I'm going to do. So my primary focus is to give you AI opportunities, so call for papers, jobs, events, but I also analyze the latest AI stuff that I've been working on. So as I said, I'm going to share what inspired me this week in terms of innovation. People, I congratulate a whole bunch of people, but I'm just going to pick one person who truly inspires me and is doing something amazing and deserves a congratulation this week. So wait for a minute. And what I will do is, since I'll be sharing a lot of different links, I'm not just going to go through a whole bunch of events and whole bunch of jobs lists right here. And there's a bunch of call for papers, call for submissions. And somebody in the previous Sudha Live session said, can you just have a separate section for students? So I've been on the lookout. So there are a couple different fellowships and internship opportunities for students. So what I will do is, best of my ability, I will come back. I'll do it live, or I'll come back and post it on LinkedIn. And then the rest of it, all of it will go, with including this video recording from LinkedIn, will go on to my weekly newsletter called Jamte Newsletter. My last name Jamte. You can see my full name here. And it's bit.ly/Jamte newsletter, and you can go see the archives. If you want to subscribe, then you'll get an email in your inbox on Monday evening, and all the links and everything will be there, and you can reply back and communicate with me and all that good stuff. So let me go to this amazing video of what inspired me this week. Let me make sure I bring it to full screen mode. Then I'm going to come back to my Zoom. Where is my Zoom? And then I'm going to share it with you. Okay, I'm not able to do the full screen and share, so I'm going to go back. Stop. Okay, you can see it's a kid. You can hear it's a kid. You can see what it is, because I'm on a Chromebook, which means I have to share a tab. Okay, this is a student, and his name is Ishan Iyer. 1 minute, let me share. I hate this, how YouTube actually will give all my recommendations right for you to see right away. But That's live. I've decided to do this live with you guys. So please tell me you're able to see this, view this tab. Yeah. Are you able to see the YouTube tab, guys? Okay. Otherwise, you're just going to hear. Okay. Um, this is Ishan Iyer. He's a sixth grader and from California. I didn't realize that. And this person is the 3M Young Scientist Challenge Award winner. And let's see what he's got to say. White and
globally with moderate to severe visual impairment, out of which 43 million are estimated to be blind. 1.3 million children are born blind every single year, one every minute. Adding to this, 2% of the world population are both blind and deaf. Louis Braille's timeless words resonate even more today. Access to communication in the widest sense is access to knowledge. Sadly, the lack of Braille literacy confines the blind from reading and communicating effectively. Today, only 7.8% of blind children attending public schools and 10% of the visually impaired population know Braille. The reasons being limited access, cost and availability of Braille materials, favoring audio-based learning due to technological advancements, the time-intensive nature of Braille learning, scarcity of teaching materials, and qualified instructors.
I'm going to forward this back.
Meet BEAM, the breakthrough in Braille literacy. BEAM, or Braille Enhanced Adaptive Machine, is an innovative, portable, refreshable, automatic, tactile, braille spray electronic display that redefines accessibility. Seamlessly connected to his dedicated app I created via Bluetooth, this groundbreaking device transforms English text and voice messages into Braille characters. 6 solenoids activate to display each Braille character with the aid of a Raspberry Pi Pico. It's portable, costs less than $50, helps save trees, supports grade 2 Braille, and its integration with smartphones through the dedicated app makes it an indispensable tool for education and communication alike.
Okay, so I'm going to stop that. So what was fascinating is obviously it's a young kid who did this, and it's inspiring, and it's, you know, inclusion and thinking of making this with a Raspberry Pi. I love IoT, so I love that. But what stuck me was this was done such that the BOM cost of making this was only $50. I mean, from a US sense, it's less, and it obviously in scale it could even be optimized for more. But I just found that very inspiring. So, add a comment and tell me if you share my excitement about this. But the fact that a student in sixth grader in that age could even think of this, and then obviously he thanks a lot of people who helped him, and even the script looks like helped by some adults, but it takes a certain kind of attitude to think about things with empathy. So when we're looking at technology and very excited about generative AI and all the amazing stuff in our world, to think with empathy and go execute and build something is like a big deal. So I just thought that was good. And also many of us who are building stuff, thinking of amazing ideas, tend to go inwards and say, okay, this is amazing, I'm going to go build this, and until it's perfect, I'm not coming out. And as he thanks a bunch of people, it shows the maturity of various adults who were involved, from various mentors and internationally different people who helped this kid come execute on their idea. And I thought that is something that I noticed, and I think that all of us need. And I remember I was at Barcelona Technology School a couple of weeks back, and one of our board members, we went for a strategic advisory board meeting, and one of my fellow board members was Christian Mastrodonato, and wise man with wonderful words. And one of the things that Chris was telling to the new batch of students was to be very self-aware, like I called it mini cognition, to actually be aware of what you're doing, what you're not doing, what you don't know. When you meet other people and they bring different perspectives, how does that fit in, and how you can grow yourself. That's what I understood. And Chris, if you're listening to this, if there's a different meaning for it, please enlighten me. But that was amazing for me, and I find that very fascinating, because that keeps, that keeps me doing what I'm doing with you all, because you make me smart. Okay. So answer, let me see whether you have any questions on LinkedIn. And I'm going to, it's making me refresh everything. I see questions posted. Oh, I see Karthikeyan. Yes, yes. Oh, you're joining from Buffalo. Thank you so much for joining in. And add a comment, question, anything related to what we are doing. So all I've done is I showed you a nice video of a person who is from a middle schooler who inspired me, and I thought that was wonderful. And then this is a person I'm going to tell you, when I said I'm going to congratulate one person in the newsletter, I'll congratulate a lot of people because I like to do that. I also like to use my platform to give visibility to everyone else, to add diversity, to create role models and the like. So you will see that. Oh, you want to see the newsletter? Okay, let me give the link of that. And again, if you want to join, it will send you an email. If you don't want to join, that's okay. You can come and watch this, because every week I tell you what is this URL, so you can go there. Let me check. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I just thought I typed it in a window. Okay, I'm going to create a new window. Just say that. Okay, bit.ly/Jamte newsletter, share window. Okay. So this is a new Google window it is showing, where I have said bit.ly/Jamte newsletter. And that's the URL, and it's going to load that page. Yes. Come on. Yeah. So each week, and thank you so much to Pariya Sarin for helping me get this newsletter out. So every week, this is from last week, and this goes out to multiple different lists. So this bit.ly/Jamte newsletter is open. Anybody can join. It also goes to another list that just goes to my Stanford students only. And you can see the weekly Wednesday, the recording, and all kinds of fun stuff. But the important thing is, last week I congratulated the women in AI. There are 103 winners, and almost 1.5 years of effort put in. I just decided to congratulate the volunteers, Women in AI Volunteer Award winners. Here's the list of jobs that I mentioned last week, call for papers, events, and all this good stuff. Okay, so let me stop the share. So you can go, and so this week's whatever I'm sharing will be there. But now, without further ado, let me go to the amazing person who has been inspiring me. So let me look at that. Yes, I'm not sharing the window. Thank you for that. I'll share that. So United Nations has announced a high-level advisory body on artificial intelligence. So they're basically saying it's UN's response. They are calling for they want like some kind of coordinated governance. They are calling for an interdisciplinary expertise. So they have like a diverse set of people from around the globe. They've identified 38 different experts of different relevant experience, and multiple stakeholders and all that stuff, right? So these are all the different people. Every one of them are contributing to AI in different dimension. They come from different countries, different area of AI and all that stuff. They are just not all people working only on governance, but most of them are focused very ethically, and some of them are working in companies as heading research or some function that is critical for that company's technology company's contribution to AI. So each of them are worth checking out, following, and all that good stuff. But the one person, let me see, I'm a big fan of Alondra Nelson, who used to work at the White House, heading science advisory, helped create the whole policy for US to get involved in what was called as the AI Bill of Rights that I've shared with you guys before. There's a whole bunch of other researchers, and there's also diversity of age. All kinds of diversity is very fascinating in their work and roles. That is also important. Who am I looking for? I'm looking for Professor Virginia Dignam. She's a professor of responsible AI at Umia University. So it might look from this bio that she's a professor, PhD in artificial intelligence, but and we've seen her. If you follow her on LinkedIn, you'll see she's a member of many different responsible AI organization. She's part of the Royal Swedish Academy of Engineering Sciences, fellow of the European Artificial Intelligence Association. EurAI, last week I announced that EurAI has come up with a call to document the history of AI in Europe, and it's a $10,000 grant. Obviously, from Europe, you have to be from Europe and have knowledge on how AI had evolved, and they are looking for interesting ways. It's not just like a chronological history, because you might come at it from a different perspective. She's also a member of the Global Partnership on AI, WF's Global Future Council on AI, UNESCO's expert group on implementation AI, and I can go on and on and on. But what I am very excited about, and congratulations, Professor Tignam, the reason I'm very, very passionate about her being here in UN, and it gives me hope, is because she is a professor, and she finds time somehow to be part of all these different organizations, not just in a self-promoting way, but to go influence change, to bring responsible AI to the forefront, to drive that conversation. I was disappointed not to see her as one of the people in Times 100 AI influencers, but I'm very happy to see her here at UN, and is going to help us in a very global role. So congratulations, Professor Dignam. Okay, so those are my two, what inspired me through the week. And then I'm actually going to talk to you about, I have a bunch of calls. I'm going to kind of random show you in different sequence what are those different calls and stuff. But what is top of mind for me this week is, we had Weekly Wednesday is the global speaker series at Business School of AI, my online platform, and we had Yashashwini Vishwanath come in and talk to us about machine unlearning. And even when we were putting this out in typing this to create the flyer, Zoom does like a whole summarization everywhere. The AI out there, which does natural language processing and does autocorrect, corrected it to machine learning, because machine unlearning is such a new topic. So Yashashwini did a webinar, and it is on my YouTube. I'm going back there, guys. Give me a minute. Yeah, I know I'm always not sharing till somebody reminds me. So give me a minute. Back again to YouTube. Where is my Chrome window? And share. So this is our own Yashashwini. It says it is streaming. Maybe okay. Yes. And she comes with, okay, I'm going to skip her bio.
Which has,
she's done a bunch of, the way she set it up is she
opt out is,
okay, so what the way Yash did this is, she set it up to show us why, what is machine unlearning? Machine unlearning is about removing a certain data, certain class of data, certain columns or features of data from an existing brain of an AI after it has been trained. So we talk about how we want to make AI responsible with fairness metrics and looking for bias in the machine learning process, right? In the building AI process. After AI is built, we are interacting with a lot of AI. Now it is biased. What do we do? Then there is this whole concept of explainability. But what Yash is working on, and she's doing a PhD, she's just started a PhD on this machine unlearning topic, which is, can we make the AI forget some data that it should forget? Now, who decides that it should forget? How do you decide that is biased? That's a whole different conversation. We've not had the business people, all the others come into this yet. So this is still at a very early stage in terms of building an algorithm to go into the brain of a deep learning model and see whether you can make it unlearn or forget a subset of data, or a stream of data. So that's what it is. So I would think, okay, it does. Yeah, I wanted to forget a bias of a certain column, was what I was thinking. What Yash showed us is, let me go back. Yash showed us that it is a challenge because there are various different ways you can forget a single class or a multiple class of data. You can forget a whole cohort of data that was used in training, or it could be a random a subset of a classes from multiple different classes. So what are the technical challenges to even make that happen, and why is that a big deal? And all is this because it's personal data, right? So you have to remove it from the backend data. Retraining the model can be very expensive. There could be billions of parameters. There could be a trickling information about the data that is sitting in one of the layers of the neuron. So there's a whole bunch of things that she went through. So she gave us the big high level of what is machine unlearning, and there are people who do adversarial attacks and then change the existing data set. So she gave us the justification of the why and the what. We had not gotten to the how, because the how doesn't exist fully, because it is in very early stage of research. So I'm going to go to the research she was trying to show us. So she was actually showing, the various different ways with the lack of resource and different kind of attacks and all that stuff in the data. I'm trying to get to um, wait a minute. This is us chatting in the end. Okay, this is what I was getting to. I was trying to get to the citations. So if you see, she's given 8 citations. So this machine unlearning started out, I believe, in 2017. The need for it was realized. It is still not there in terms of, the actual algorithms. Google has a machine unlearning contest that is a call that is out till November 27th, out on Google, on Kaggle, and the winners will get to present at NeurIPS. And I'm going to NeurIPS with the Global South in AI social affinity group, bringing about 30 of the authors that are going to go with us. So this is the list of research papers. Think about it. Any AI topic, you won't get 8 or 10. You will get like 300 or 3,000, right? So this is early stage of it. So that got us thinking about this whole concept of transparency, right? And the other, so what I'm going to focus on is this transparency concept, right? So all that Yash was telling us was data is biased and why it's a problem. Data is not just one data or removing one set of data. There's complexity to it, and they're building algorithms, right? So that's the machine unlearning piece, and you can get that from our YouTube, and obviously from the Jamte newsletter, you'll get the access to it also. The other thing is, I've been talking in my recent travels, and I've been talking about how do you build an application using generative AI. So I've shared one framework of mine, which was, there are 2 pieces to it, right? When you build, you don't start off with like, here's the technology. There's many, many, many technologies out there. So you have to start with why are you doing this? What is the data set you have? What is the customer problem you're trying to solve for? And then you go build out the solution, right? So to make that happen, I have a framework. I've been talking to companies, and there have been multiple different solutions, potential use cases that have been published by several consulting companies. And if you're interested, I can share some of it with you also on the newsletter also. But the thinking is, what is the starting point? What should be the starting point? So I'm going to go back, share one more thing that I thought was very beautiful, because it's not just, so there are some vendors who will come and say, oh, you're on a Microsoft cloud, and here are Azure API, and now it can talk to OpenAI, or you can directly go to OpenAI, or don't go here, go to Cohere, and you want a open source model, use Bloom. So it's a lot of conversation today on building enterprise applications, which should be about creating business impact, because you're going to put money, you're going to look for the ROI. A lot of conversation is about the models or the APIs, and it is very technical conversation limited to a set of people, and it is not yet creating the business impact. So one of the questions that woke me up this week in the beginning was, enterprise AI, a lot of people are building pilots and they're calling it experiments. Are these experiments truly scaling? Are they scaling for the sake of scaling? Are they real? And are they generating a ROI? What is involved in getting the ROI? This is a common question I keep getting, but it was like very point blank on my face. And it didn't have a straight answer. So I've been thinking, talking, brainstorming about this, and then poking around various things to figure out who is really building enterprise AI with generative AI. What kind of applications are they building? Just because there's a case study from any vendor saying, "Hey, this has got this is what somebody is doing," that's not good enough. That's still a case study. Somebody can make it up. Somebody can write it today. It might not scale, right? And we had Ken Heron come in a couple weeks back, 2 weeks back at Weekly Wed, and he talked about there are companies who are putting hundreds of thousands of dollars to build generative AI chatbots, and then the chatbots are for them to scale. Not all of them are scaling, and for them to scale, they need stakeholder buy-in, and they should have actually started with why they are doing this in the first place, and all that good stuff. And it's a beautiful discussion. Ken had a fun discussion with us, so that's also in Weekly Wed in the archive on my YouTube. So, and again, you can go back to the Jamte newsletter last week, and you can see that recording too. But the point is, who's really doing this? I spoke to somebody from Amazon AWS, and they said we have 80 use cases that we are working with various different customers of ours across different industry. Another consulting company had 76 of these use cases or similar ones across multiple industry. And so I have a question for you, because I promised to make it interactive. So when I'm thinking about enterprise AI, I'm thinking about any industry. And for my students, I always tell you, AI or any technology typically is not one industry, but when you say tech is not one industry. I'm not talking about the industry vertical, whether it's a healthcare or manufacturing or oil and gas or something like that. When you're thinking about technology, especially since I talk to and teach product managers, technology industry builds the technology platforms, the tools, the APIs, and then they sell it to the enterprise customers who are creating the application, the applied AI, right? And if you're an enterprise in any of the other verticals that I was mentioning, then you are a customer of the technology industry and you're buying technology. So you might work as an innovator, you might be working in IT, you might be a data scientist in one of these companies, but you're still looking at application of the AI using a technology model, an API, a tool, a platform that is coming from tech. So it's very important for us when we are thinking of building something using technology to create customer impact, for you to be very cognizant of where am I sitting, who am I representing, am I actually creating a fundamental model and going to do the next version of it and go put it out for customers. Then it's a different problem, a different approach to productizing it. Or are you actually building an application because you want to create ROI? And I think on the enterprise end, the thinking and the conversation or ROI is, I put in X dollars. How is it strategically helping my business? How is it helping my customer? How am I going to recover that money? How much X am I getting it? In technology industry, you're building a product. You might have a leeway to kind of scale that product and prove and test and go pivot multiple times and create valuation for your company. And then you might have an exit, or and you might go public, or you might go go into an acquisition or something. And that's a different way by which you create value for your company. And yet you want to create value for your customer, but the valuation by way it is conceived and the discussions that happen are very different. So even if, especially if you're a data scientist and you're saying I'm building model, I'm improving model, you are not building the fundamental model unless you're in the technology industry, and you're not actually building you're actually building the model to train the AI. This becomes more tricky, especially with AI, because previously there was a product, somebody built it, Word, Excel, ERP systems, all of them, right? Somebody built it, somebody bought it, now you install and set it up, right? With AI, because AI keeps learning. So the AI is starting with some data, create and is iterating and is learning, and there is a version. Now that's being sold, productized and sold. And then on the enterprise side, you're buying the AI, calling an API, and you're modeling it with your data, and it again learning. So that gets very confusing, especially if you do data science, or you're in IT, or in that stage, that side of the enterprise working with companies. It gets very tricky because you might still end up building some product, right, which is a technology product, calling the API from a technology company, marrying off to your data to do something. But it's very important in the end to remember, why are you doing this? Who are you doing this for? You're doing it for some customer. You're going to recover your cost. You have to have some multiple. It has to have some strategic value. So in that sense, I want to show something very nice that I came across just today. Here. So one of the things with building AI is, you have to, your company, I've done this as in my Stanford class. And again, disclaimer, I'm not married to any one particular brand of any kind. I try to be agnostic, but if somebody gives me good value that I can bring to my students, I'm going to show it. So this is from Google. And they said, okay, you want to get started with generative AI? Here is an interactive generative AI navigator. And my initial thinking was, oh, they're going to give you, like, make you take a survey and then lead you to some Google product. They never sent me to any Google product, so I'm very happy with that. But what they did is, your company needs to have an AI readiness, and you need to have a strategy in place. So there are certain pillars to that strategy, and you have to build out a roadmap and the like before you get started. So you don't know, if you are thinking, oh, this is exciting, that could be something we could do with generative AI. This is a good starting point. It's called Gen AI Navigator .withgoogle.com previously, and this is a part of Google, which is experimental, and they put things out. I have shared many tools in my no code AI class. You don't need to log into Google, you don't need to give any data to them. This is the withgoogle.com side of experimental side of Google, right? It's called Gen AI Navigator. So it basically says, you started, there's some guide, I'm not downloading anything. In the end, if you want to download the guide in some document, they ask you for an email, but I didn't want to do that. So you can actually say, I'm in manufacturing, and then you can say, okay, you're ready to go. Okay. And then take the first steps. I don't know where to get started. Then I could say, what am I doing from a strategy perspective? What am I doing from an infrastructure perspective in terms of talent and skill in my company? Those are the three pillars they're looking at. I'm not going to walk through all this for you. It is called Gen AI Navigator. You can try it out for yourself. So that's the first step, right? If you're doing this for your company, is your company ready, right? And having that, the strategy, the infrastructure, and the people, right? That's that one dimension of thinking about it. The infrastructure would involve data readiness, single source of truth, and all that stuff. Then you get into what am I building here, and how am I going to approach this in terms of productizing it? This is where I have shared a framework saying, think about generative AI capabilities, and think about your customer strategy, and what problem you want to solve, and what kind of data do you have, and then map that to build out the product feature. Now, before I go there, I have a question for you. When you see a lot of generative AI applications out there, what is the most common generative AI application that somebody has built that you see? What is it that you're seeing out there? So anybody who is here on the chat, what is the generative AI? Is the Gen AI application you see everywhere? Very common one. What is the most common one? And if you can type your answer here. That'll be awesome. So what is the most common one that we are seeing everywhere? Doesn't matter which company is building, which, in the enterprise and whatnot. What is the most common application that we are seeing? That's what I'm trying to see. Yes, I'm seeing. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Kartikeyan from Buffalo, do you want to answer the question? I see you're still online, but anybody else who is also here, if you want to answer that, that's fine. What's the most common one? The most common application that we are seeing is a chatbot. Now, the next question I have for you is, So we are seeing intelligent chatbots. Everybody's got a chatbot for marketing, for customer support. They have some kind of like chat GPT like chatbot, right? That's what Ken Haran was talking about. Why is it that we are seeing a lot of chat GPT like chatbots? When we say Gen AI and we see applications, why is it that we are seeing chatbots? Come on, guys, give me some answers. There's no bad answer, okay? There's just tell me what you think could be a reason. Okay, so there is an excitement for ChatGPT. Many of us got introduced to Gen AI using ChatGPT, though that's not the only Gen AI out there. But so that could be a reason why it says, "Oh, ChatGPT is chatting with us and understanding context and talking like a human and fetching the world to us, and maybe we can now do this for our customer, right?" And so there's a lot of customer service apps, a lot of other chatbot apps, right? So what's the other common feature or application of generative AI that you see as a product? Let me give you a clue. That is something that I'm using right now as I'm talking to you on Zoom. What is it? Yes, summarization, right? So you see a lot of applications. So what is happening with Zoom is Zoom has an AI assistant, and I said, okay, we'll turn it on. And it is listening to my voice, and it's going to take the uh, transcript of that and give me a nice summary of this particular conversation. Or when I do the weekly Wednesday, when the speaker comes and talks, when Yash was talking about machine learning, it did a summary of that. Or next week, we have a new conversation. We actually have a webinar on quantum computing and at weekly wed, and it's going to nicely do a summary for us. So where is the summarization, the big thing that everybody is doing? So we saw ChatGPT like chatbots because ChatGPT is interesting and a lot of people are excited about it, so they want their own chatbots like a toy. What's the other one? The summarization. And why are a lot of people doing summarization in terms of capability of Gen AI that they're implementing? So remember, you take the Gen AI implementation, the capabilities, you map it to customer problem you want to solve, then you come up with the feature set, right? And here you build out uh, Zoom has built out an AI assistant by taking the summarization capability, and we are the customers, the paid customers, and the data they have is a transcript. So they map that. That's a triangle. I'm giving that because I have a framework like a triangle, and they've built that, right? So now, why summarization is the thing everybody's going? It's a lazy option, guys, because you have transcripts. People have been working for long to take transcripts and just produce video transcripts. Now, obviously, Zoom has come up with, hey, we do not want to touch anything that is customer data. Supposedly, they did this before where they were taking our information, and then there was an outcry about this. Now they're not doing it, so they're not touching our data, they're not storing our data. So if you have chat going on in the Zoom meetings at work or something, they're not going to listen to that or snoop around. That's the promise. So they're taking the transcript and they're giving you a summarization within that same organization, right? And every time somebody comes into the meeting, there's a pop-up which says this is there's an AI assistant transcribing this, producing a summary. Do you want to be part of it or go away? And so you have a choice. You can't opt out and still sit in the meeting, but it will uh, at in the meeting you're kind of giving implicit permission. But and there's a lot of other summarization tools, lot of different things that does summary. What is the big deal with summarization? Why is it? Because it's an easy option. Now, I want to challenge you that summarization is not working as well as it should do for the capability of generative AI. Why is generative AI and ChatGPT is a big deal? Because it understands context. So one of the things that I've tested with Zoom and their AI assistant is it gives me a summary. So last week, Yashashwini Vishwanath was talking about unlearning, right? Machine unlearning. And I had a conversation. I was the host asking her questions. So there are two of us. There were two voices. And Zoom took all that and wrote a summary. And then we mentioned Professor Vajne as a third person, right? Who was an author and we said, oh, I've read this book and this is good, and we were talking about it, Zoom got confused and thought that was a third person who was in the meeting with us. There was no voice from that person. It was just a reference to another person. It was smart enough to understand it was a person. And then it just said these three people had a conversation. That was a summary. So it failed me. Now I can't just blindly say, oh, this is the conversation here, everybody take it, and to every attendee. Now I need to go read through everything, and I'm giving feedback because Zoom is still testing this. It's early stages, but it's not Zoom's problem. It's generative AI problem. They are using some kind of GPT API in the background, and it's failing them because summarization, when you do using any of the GPT APIs, is just doing a dumb summarization. It does not understand context. The whole power of LLMs is understand context. When you do a chatbot, right, it's not just magically understanding context. It has the capability to understand context. It does not understand context in summarization. So it's not as interesting for me. So if it's not, so if somebody as a human would transcribe a meeting, they would give that in context, and that is the context that these two people are talking. They're referencing a third person who's not in the room. So think of this: you could be in a work setting and you could be talking about somebody and say, oh, that person is not here, let's assign all the action items to them. And it might think that person is in the room, and if it summarizes, it's a big flop, right? So that's why summarization is not quite there. At least it is not tapping into the full capability of what is possible with generative AI. The third application is machine translation. Machine translation is you're doing it in English and now it's going to give it in a different language. It's going to give it in Italian or Spanish or Chinese or something. And what's the catch in that? Why is that not as mainstream, or we not reach the full capability of what is possible with that? Let me go back to the comments and see if somebody is answering that. So machine translation, we are still not availing of the full capability of what an LLM can do, because there are 7,000 plus languages in the world, and the AI translation is available for 7 or 8 of them decently, with good performance. And then ChatGPT can understand about 95 languages, it claims, but it's very pathetic on many languages that I have tested in terms of trusting it for a customer to have a conversation. If I am talking to a customer and the customer is talking a language that I don't know, I cannot trust ChatGPT's 95 languages out there. So my other project, other than the teaching work I do, is Global South in AI, which is about bringing diversity language AI, and we will be bringing new researchers from many of the Global South languages, indigenous languages, and all that for various interesting applications to NeurIPS AI conference end of the year. But starting next week, I'm going to tell you more about the different workshops and who gets selected and all that stuff, because the call is out, has been closed. We are going through the reviews and rebuttal, and we have not yet picked the we're not announced who all the authors who got accepted. But it's not there because we don't have diversity in there. And recently there was a paper that was published that this concept of hallucination, where the AI, when you chat with the chatbot from LLM, large language model, it'll make things up where it doesn't have enough training in its brain, and it'll say that very nicely, confidently, right? And it'll make up statements. And so it's called hallucination. And there was a recent paper that was published that the hallucinations are higher in non-English languages. All the other 7 languages that it does also have a higher degree of hallucination except English, because the fundamental model, the foundation model, was trained in English. And so that's where it has maximum data. Even there where it has a gap, it's filling it up with hallucinations. And so the hallucinations are high where the gaps are higher in the training data, which means every other language in the world. That's not a good thing. Anyway, so in my in the things I'm going to share with you, links and the reading list, there's a bunch of research in this space about the hallucination. There is something called woodpecker hallucination correction for multimodal large language models, and I'm going to share that, so you will be able to see what is the state of where it is in terms of the improving hallucinations. There is a lot of data sets that have been published. There is like 33 academic labs that have pooled different resources related to robot type of data. They have created a data set. There's like multiple different data sets that would kind of help improve LLMs in various ways. Google has actually announced a fact check tool for fact checking of image. So when an image is showing up, is it like a made up image? Is it a generative AI image? Is this like a fake news image or real? So they have come up with a tool for fact checking. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that I'm going to be sharing with you. But I want us to stay on this conversation instead of just random giving you a bunch of resources. I want you to think about when you're building enterprise level application. One I showed you whether you're ready. So with google.org, I gave you a bunch link, right, that you can go through to generative AI readiness. We talked about the most common one is ChatGPT, like application, right? Chat like application, the summarization where it falls short, machine translation where it falls short, and this whole thing of hallucination. There is another element which is the whole idea of generative AI compared to other machine learning and deep learning from the past is that it is going to not just pick something from its historic brain and give you an answer. It is going to take that as learning, and then it's going to extrapolate and make up an answer that is the generative part, right? Because of that, it can give you a risky situation, a different kind of way of validating any hypothesis in your company that you might not have thought about. It might be an hallucination, or it's an extrapolation of its knowledge. So you as a human, a business person involved in generative AI, has to look at it and say, this doesn't make sense, this is interesting, I had never thought of it this way, let us validate it. So there is a very, very, very important role for the business person. So in past AI, data science built something, you got an API, now you got your data, you modeled it, and you created the AI, now you productized it, and now it could be even automated, right? So now you have to check the output and say, this makes sense, now we let it out back to the customer, doesn't make sense, now this is hallucination, it's absurd, we'll get rid of it. So there is a human touch point that is important. Similarly, even in the summarization case, I think if there is a human who's adding context to it, we could trust the summarization. So I think one of the things with productizing LLMs and generative AI is the role of us as business people, as product people, as UX designers, as business owners, people who understand business acumen, is you have a role. And so when you productize it, you need to have a very human-centered interface for the product instead of just an automated product. Or there should be a check and balance on false positive, false negative kind of thing that you do with a confusion matrix. Typically in an AI model, you're going to do the same thing, but you're saying, is it a hallucination? No, it's not. Okay, is it real? But is it too far-fetched? Now, do I trust it? What is involved in making this happen? Now, let's go test it out. I tested it and it makes sense. Now I will launch it to the customer. So there's like a human intervention check and balance that needs to be built into the building of the enterprise application. So I think that's important. So I would like to do this in the coming weeks. Before I go to New Rips end of the year, I have 4 weeks. This coming week at Weekly Wednesday, we have quantum computing. Let me show that. Yes, that's a interesting topic. Everybody wants to hear it. So why not? Why not? Why not? Yes, let me share my screen to show you details on what I'm talking about. Yes. Okay. This is just an image. Thank you, Pariya. Pariya Sarin is going to be hosting the next Weekly Wednesday. It's on Wednesday, November 1st, 8 a.m. Pacific time. It's so 17 hour in Nigeria, 17 hour in Europe, and 8:30 in night in India. What else? 12 o'clock in Brazil. Okay, I need to travel to more countries, then I can give you better time zones for your country. So if you're already in the Weekly Wed registration, you would get the Zoom link, and you'll even get like a newsletter giving us, follow up from the previous week and the like. And So the quantum computing, it's going to be a webinar, foundation stuff. And Elisa Torres Durney is brilliant. She's created this organization called Girls in Quantum Computing, and is very, very focused to teach quantum computing to the world. And she's already done this in 21 different countries. She has many different ambassadors and the like. And that's what we're going to do. Okay. So that is the coming week. And so what I was thinking is, following that, you have to give me feedback, because everything I do, I share a lot, but I want it to work for you. And so if you find that this enterprise AI and getting it deeper to actually get to execution, figuring out for applications on different industries and whatnot is interesting, then I'll bring that to weekly Wednesday. We can do some sessions on that. So ping me when you get the newsletter. You can reply, or you can write here on LinkedIn. Let me see whether anybody's already written something here. Okay, so that would be helpful. And there's a bunch of other resources. So the other thing about enterprise AI is the transparency. What I started out with machine and learning from Yash is all that is being done at a technology level. Technology industry always starts with they're building the technology, then they put it out to the customer, then it gets productized, they test and learn on various industries, and then it comes to the customer. The customer does a pilot, and then they say, okay, now we need to scale it, and that is there an ROI? And as I told you earlier, with the AI, because the data, the real data that can create value, that is log the value, is sitting with the enterprise customer. It has to reach the technology models to actually do the modeling. And so it has to be a lot of partnerships in that way, but it's not being done that way, right? So there's been an approach of, it was originally technology and then thrown on the other side, and then the model was built. It was not getting the value because the stakeholders had not contributed. Then there was a data centric approach, which was introduced by Professor Andrew Nigg, and said, okay, let's start with the data and see where's the value in this data, what problem can we solve for the customer, and go backward and find the model, and then go build this product from there. And I'm a big proponent of a business centric approach, which is you start with the business problem, forget data, forget model, forget everything, and you say, what business problem is pending that I can create value? If I solve this problem, I can save cost, I can create revenues, bring customers to whole new markets, I can reach new segment of customers and stuff like that, right? So you can create business value. And every business person, if you ask them, they will say, what is the top business problem that you want to solve? They will have one. Then you size that, and then you say, okay, is this worth investing money in? And then you go from there into, okay, what data do I have to solve for this? And then can I use AI for it? It doesn't have to be generative AI. It could be generative AI. And then you go build the technology, or you find the platforms and stuff. So I'm very big on that approach for it. So if that's interesting, we can go deeper into specific industries, use cases, segments, a specific type of sequence to sequence in generative AI capability to go build product and the like. And before I leave you today, there's a bunch of things that is, there is a journalism AI for specifically from targeting Latino population researchers, that is out as a call. There's a bunch of it that is for various different segments. There is youth youth adapt challenge, I think it's called, for climate action. That is out again for, I think I got it from AI for Africa, the African Development Bank Group. There's a bunch of such calls. So I'm going to put that all out. I'm not going to just go parrot that out here for you. The one person that I would highly recommend that you follow is Tejumade Afonja, and I'm a very big fan of her, and she's an AI researcher, runs AI Saturdays, and AI Saturdays Lagos. And I just found out that the AI Saturday Lagos is not just doing their own thing where they're helping each other and they're becoming smart and learning, but they're also streaming it. So you can find their work on their YouTube, which also I'm going to share. I already told you about the Gen AI Navigator from Google, so I'm going to close that window. I wanted to show you at least two demos. I think I'm getting to the end of the time here for today, so I'm going to see what I can show you quickly. Um, Let me share my screen. Um, One of the projects I've been talking about I want to do is this is a chatbot, and I said everybody's building a chatbot. I want to build a chatbot also. So this is from H2O.ai, and what they've done is they have actually connected to various different models in the back end. And so what we can do is we can say which model. So do you want to do talk to Llama 2? Do you want to talk to Zephyr? Do you want to talk to GPT 3.5 Turbo, which is what powers ChatGPT? A whole bunch of other models, right? And then you can actually upload a file. What I tried to do, I wanted to do a demo, so I just uploaded a PDF version of my own resume in here, and then you can it has ingested that in its brain, and now you can actually say whose, let me see, now I'm going to do this live, I don't know what it's going to say. Whose resume is this? Nope. Oh my God, it's processing. Based on the information provided, the resume belongs to Sudha Jamte. So this is like two different models we are comparing. We are talking this GPT and we are talking Llama 70B and the 13B. Okay, is this, now think about this. If there is an AI that is actually looking at resumes and is going to call people for interviews, what kind of information is the AI able to glean? It just says Sudha Jamte. If you didn't know me, you would not know anything else about me, right? Is this resume of a female or male? And I don't know how it will find out. This will be scary if it finds out, or at least it belongs to a female. How the hell does it know this? Based on the information provided, the person's name is Sudha Jamte, which suggests it belongs to a female. I don't think everybody knows Sudha Jamte is a female. Belongs to a female, as her name and contact are provided, referred to as technology futurist. That doesn't mean anything. With a mix of global innovation academic background, that doesn't mean anything. Aha. Uh, Creating learner communities for diversity and women equality. Just because it's women equality doesn't mean it has to be a woman. She's recognized as finalist in Women in AI Ethics and received the award in Women's Leadership category. So it is a woman. This is super smart. This is very smart. So it gives the source for that. Okay, it is scary. So you get the idea. This is H2O.ai. You can submit any document, and then you can ask it more stuff, right? Okay, I could actually go on, play with this, and say more, find more scary things about what the AI knows, but I'm going to take a break from that because I just wanted to show you that. So the other thing is, one of the things I want to do is, I've been talking about this for a while. I have this book called Generative AI, Primer for Product and Business Managers. It's a Kindle book, 300 core pages, and maybe on Amazon Kindle, and I can have it as I have a copy as a PDF also. What I was thinking is, I want to create a chatbot by feeding my book, and I want my students on to query and learn generative AI. It talks about foundation of generative AI, business side, product side, societal side, explains every model in English and all that stuff, right? Demystify a lot of jargons and all that. I don't even have like very futuristic insights. It's more like an informational book. I would love for you to query and say, what does hallucination mean? Or, how many parameters is in GPT 3.5? And it should be able to give all that. So I want my book to have a chatbot interface so that you can query it. That's what I'm trying to do. I've tried that with LangChain because somebody came and spoke to us about LangChain and showed a demo. Didn't like it because it just is part of ChatGPT. The way the model, the way the chatbot is created, I didn't like it. It's not solving my problem, because I want to keep the integrity of my data, and then I want you to just get the answers that you want just from my data, not from the world. I don't want this to be like an addition on top of ChatGPT. So that didn't do it. And so this H2O, I'm going to try that. So if anybody wants to volunteer and work on a project with me and help build a chatbot from a book, I'd love you for it. And you can work with me. So let me know. And then before I go, the other demo that I want to show you is, because I was talking a lot about transparency, right? So what does that mean? So let me show you. There is a whole discussion brewing about what is transparency. I'm not going to take sides. I'm not going to go there, but I like the idea of transparency. So let me go here. I open that window. Let me come back and I will share that image. Okay. Okay, so this was in my Jamte newsletter last week. A bunch of researchers from Stanford collaborated with other universities and came up with this thing called Foundation Model Transparency Index. And they basically said these are the different models that they have compared, and this is all the parameters that they thought was important, and to say, was the data, the underlying data, published, and what kind of labor were they using, and and this various different things, right, that they have come up with. And based on that, they had gave some kind of score and weightage, and then they've published a whole paper behind this, and I did share it in my newsletter. If you're interested, I'll share it again. But this week there's a different group of academics who basically said, oh, this is not perfect. They are focusing on Bloomz. There is that's an open source model, and they're saying they've given it a low score, and because it's not, they're saying it's not transparent. So it is looking at a lot of corporate brand and giving them more usage, more rating and stuff like that, right? So there is a different discussion and a theoretical argument on whether this model is right or wrong. I actually like the idea of a model transparency index, uh, because this is a published paper. You can build on it and say, I would like to build this with different parameters, different weightage or whatnot. But what I find missing is real business people who would care about what is transparency in a model. When you get a model, and if you're saying, when you're saying transparency, it's not just I want to know what it is trained on and the like. For the customer, can the customer trust this? Can I stick my head out and say, I use this model and here is transparency? So I'm thinking about this as more like explainability in that sense, right? So what I would like to do is, I wanted to see what is out there. And there is let me see, I've stop the share. Yeah. There is a company called Fiddler.ai that has done a fantastic job. Let me share my window. So if I don't have time to go,
I don't know where you are, but you can show me. Go to privacy settings.
Okay, Siri decided to talk when I didn't ask for it. I was trying to switch off my phone. Okay, so I'm going to LinkedIn, and I don't know, I'm too calm for a Friday evening to continue doing this with you guys. So thank you to Murtuza Shergadwala from Fiddler.ai. And their whole calling is Fiddler offers functionality for model monitoring and explainability. That's their thing. So when we are talking about that, is there transparency to the model, that's what this is. But the cool thing is, like I said, everybody is creating a chatbot with generative AI. So that's what they have done. They've created a chatbot. Let me see if I already opened that in a different screen, then I can just show that to you. Doesn't look like it. So I'm going to go back. Where is that window I was sharing with you? Okay, where is it, guys? Okay, let me close the other things. I see Fiddler. Okay, share this tab. Okay, so you're able to see this, right? So they have created a Fiddler chatbot, which is basically taking, so Fiddler's calling is to do monitoring of models. If you're using different models in the enterprise and building out enterprise application, you want to manage the versions of the model, and you want to understand the explainability. They even have explainability of a surrogate model that is adopted and things like that, right? So there's a lot of different things that it is doing. So basically they have documentation on this, and they said, why don't we just make a chatbot? So earlier, when we used to track different models trained by different data set, there used to be versions of the model and versions of the data set. And let me, am I sharing the, yeah. Okay. So it used to be called ML ops. So now, because they are giving operations using LLM of LLM, that function is called LLM ops. So I'm just going to ask Fiddlerbot, what is LLM ops? Again, everything I'm doing is live. I don't know what it's going to say. I have no affiliation with Fiddler, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. So it basically says LLM ops stand for large language model operations, refers to practices and process implemented by companies to ensure that large language models are high performing, correct, and safe. That is a lot of ambiguous words. It involves streamlining. What does that mean? It involves streamlining workflows from pre-production to production, evaluating model robustness. Okay, I don't want to read the whole thing. And it even says continuous monitoring and root cause analysis. So I like that. Okay, so I'm going to say I like it, but I'm going to say, how does Fiddler do root cause analysis? So I want you guys to try this, because this is a chatbot from Fiddler, and Fiddler does this, right? So I don't know what it is doing. It's giving me an answer. It's red. Okay, I'll reset the chat history and I'll ask it, because I'm just interacting with the chatbot. I don't know if I confused the chatbot, but this is good. They're listening to feedback. So I'm saying, how does Fiddler do root cause analysis? Okay. So Fiddler performs root cause analysis by analyzing the data and identifying the factors that contributes to anomalies in the model's performance. Awesome. I love this. I really love this. Okay. Is there anything else? Those of you who are still hanging around with me on LinkedIn, thank you guys. Do you have one last question that we should ask the Fiddler bot before I call it a day? What would you like to ask it? Oh, I see more people tuned in here. Thank you, guys. So the thing you can do is you can, I can stop sharing. So what you can do is you can just go to Fiddlerbot and you can just ask it your own question. So what my promise to you is, I am going to share all the different links I mentioned about the different opportunities. I'm going to share the Gen AI navigator from Google to see whether your company is ready. I'm going to share, of course, the weekly Wednesday and recording and stuff, and it all will go into the Jamte newsletter. And then there was one more, there is a US Google Public Policy Fellowship that is open. Students, that's yours. There is also Milo Institute also had something interesting. They had like a summer school in responsible AI and human rights. That was also very interesting. It's like a 5-week program. Let me share that. I share that so that you see the screen and then you can catch the URL, but I'm going to share the URL with you guys. Okay. This is amazing. And I know Bonaventure is from Mila, and I think that's a wonderful school. So this is worth it. Okay, so all of these resources that I'm going to be sharing with you, the H2O dot, so gpt.h2o.ai is the one where I put my resume and started chatting with it, which I would like to do with my book, and I'm calling for volunteers to work with me on that. And then the Fiddler AI is one I would like you to try, and Fiddler chatbot. So it is a URL. I'm going to put the Fiddler chatbot URL also for you. If you have any last question for Fiddler chatbot, I can ask for you. Otherwise, I think I need to wrap up, and I'm going to call it a day. So I will see you online at Weekly Ved, where we are going to learn about quantum computing, or you can see the Weekly Ved from last week about machine learning, and it was just the basic of why and how, right? Why and challenge and what's the research world. We're going to call Yash back once she gets to a more hands-on mode and say, okay, I can now show you how this is done, guys. We're going to bring her back, and that's my hope. So I'll see you back at Weekly Wed. I will see you back here online. I hope you'll try the Fiddler chat. I hope you will try the. Let me give you the name of the person I was showing you. So if you play with the Fiddler chat, here is that link, and here is Murtuza Shergadwala, and the link to the Fiddler chatbot is right here, and it is, I think they built it using OpenAI APIs. So you could reply back and give them feedback right at the chatbot, or if you want, you can come talk to Murtuza. But thank you for sharing this, Murtuza. This was wonderful, and I'm going to go play with it more because I want to know more about Fiddler AI. I want to see how I can do something with Fiddler AI and see the whole concept of transparency. And I want to understand the business dimension of transparency and explainability. So you're going to see me talking to your chatbot a lot more. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. People, thank you for hanging around with me. I appreciate this. Hope you have a fabulous weekend. I will see you next Friday at Sudha Live, or I will see you back online. If you talk to me from the Jamte newsletter, if you try any of this and reply back to me, that's great. If you want to work with me on the H2O chat to build out a chatbot for my book, that'll be wonderful. And otherwise, I'll see you at Quantum Computing 101 at Weekly Wed next Wednesday. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe. Ciao. Get to turn off stop the live. Okay. Bye, everybody.